So the next person we're going to bring up is a gentleman I met very non-coincidentally in my eyes. I actually had a dream one night, and there was an event that a lady was putting on. I believe it was down in San Diego, California, and there was somebody that I heard in my dream I was meant to meet. I was debating whether or not should I go, shouldn't I go, and it was a business event, leaving my kids. And I had this dream that this is this person that was there that I was meant to meet. Person we're bringing up next is actually this person that I met there. And it is an absolute honor to have him here today as, again, my friend, my brother, my mentor, somebody who has been with me for a very long time and who also has one of the most inspirational, heart-wrenching, heartwarming, every emotion that's out there story of what he's gone through in his own life and how he's overcome some of the most horrific things, and just brought hope to so many people. He's just a pure joy and pure light in this world. So I'm just going to bring up Brett Figueroa, and then I'll introduce him here once we get him up. So hi, Brett.
Nadine.
Oh my gosh. So I got to introduce you. So Brett Figueroa is Tony Robbins' #1 former national trainer. He has he's trained over 3,000 different companies around the world, impacted many lives, saved many lives. He does training to this day on everything from mortgages to personal development to growth to everything that's out there, business related. He is just an incredible human being, a humanitarian, gives back, has a heart of gold, and it's just a true honor to have you here today. So welcome, Brett Figueroa.
Nadine, thank you so much. Thank you. People say he does all this training, and I remember we talk about, people ask like, who's your market? And I say our market is whoever wakes up in the morning, leaves in the afternoon, and makes it back home at night, because everyone else perished and is gone. So human beings in general. So I want to say thank you. It's a blessing and it's an honor to be with you. And you know that we love you so much. And you're just such an inspiration out there. And it's exciting to watch, and it's exciting to see how much energy and how much emphasis you put into leadership, into events like this, of bringing hope to the world. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about, so it's great to be with you this morning.
Thank you so much. Great to have you here. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just wondering if you could share a little bit, and whatever you're comfortable, maybe a little bit of your story, and, people that are going through, difficult times right now, what advice would you give them? What wisdom do you have to share? I know you've been through so much, and we could probably sit on here for 10 hours and you still would have more to share. But some takeaways with that. I'd love to hear more from you on that.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm always speaking, and I never know who it is that I'm speaking to that might be watching, that might be going through a difficult time, a difficult season, might be going through a challenging marriage, or maybe it's not your marriage, maybe it's your finances. If it's not your finances, maybe it's your fitness or your confidence or whatever that may be. And so for me, it's all about how can I spark some hope into that person where maybe they didn't have hope in the early minutes, but somewhere along something happens. And I think that if there's any one thing for me personally, it's keeping that hope alive. It's keeping that hope alive. And I know for me, I started in this game. I've been doing this now, Nadine. Funny you talk about how long I've been doing it. It's now 27 years. I've been in the success industry, personal development industry. And for me, I got started in this business because I never lost the hope that one day I would make it, or I'd create success or something of that. And a lot of people, they have a path of, okay, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to go to college and get an education, and then I'm going to get a job, and, I'll be in the job for 25, 30 years. I'll get a little watch at the end, and, I'll retire, comfortably and thereafter. I never went that route. I never went to college. I boarded a Greyhound bus at 19 years old with 50 borrowed dollars. Someone was like, dude, you need to get out of town because If you don't, you're going to probably land like maybe some of the rest of your friends. And so it was just 19. I said, I'm out. I just boarded a bus, $50, and said, I'm gone, headed off to Los Angeles. And when I was out in Los Angeles, just kind of dabbled around in some things, retail business, the mortgage business. But I was very unfulfilled, felt very unsatisfied in my quest in life and my pursuit. I didn't really feel like I was making a difference. I had a tough time for me personally in the mortgage business. I just didn't really feel like I was really, really impacting. And so I remember I attended an event called LifeSpring back in about 1993. And LifeSpring was a 3-day training, had maybe 200 people in the event. All the trainings are always the same, usually about 150 to 200 people in the training. And I just remember it went for 3 days. I barely had any money. And it was in what was called the Garment District in Los Angeles. I had $500 to my name at that time. The training was $395. It was really like a black and red roulette game. Like it's either going to work or it's not. But I was willing to take the risk. I was willing to take that. Okay, here's what I've got. Let me throw some out on the table and see what happens. I mean, I had nothing really, honestly, truly to lose. I could have lost my money, but I'm sure I would have found a way to get back some money somehow, some way. But I remember I went through this training, 3 days, 12-hour days. And I remember going through this training and I was so impacted. And the training was about an area that for you and I as humans, we don't really spend a bunch of time really thinking about it. In school, we're taught reading, writing, arithmetic, science, history, things of that nature. Whereas in this course, this training was really about responsibility, vulnerability, authenticity, playing victim. How does our life seem to show up in this space called life? And so what I recognized is that there were a lot of untended to issues in my life, a lot having to deal with my childhood, which Nadine knows it was just nasty in so many ways. I don't focus on that because the fact is I am who I am today because of that. But, I think for many times people, it's the blessing in disguise. Many times, I wish I had a different upbringing. Yeah, but you probably wouldn't be who you are today if you did have a different upbringing. And so I learned a lot from that. But I just know that going through this training, I said, his name was Dan. Dan was my trainer. And Dan was sharp as a tack. And beautiful shirt, beautiful tie, crisp as crisp pants, polished shoes, perfect. And I remember somebody would stand up in the audience and they'd grab the microphone and they would start talking to the trainer and the rest of the audience. They would start talking about an issue they've been dealing with. And maybe this issue is something they've been dealing with their entire life, ever since they were a child. And I remember they would grab the mic and Dan would just handle it right away. Like he had all these skills that I was enamored by. I thought, oh my gosh, like this guy's like a magician. Like he just comes out of nowhere, takes somebody's challenge, their issues, their situations, and he was able to go bam and handle that. And the person within seconds is just bawling. Other people in the audience are bawling. Like I'm sitting, I was like a baby the whole time for 3 days. I cried so much. And I cried so much to see that you and I are really all alike. If they took that training room and put another group of 200 and then another group of 200 and another group until the world ended, each group of 200 had a set of concerns, a set of challenges, a set of frustrations, a set of disappointments, a set of all kinds of things. Many times we think, oh, it's just me going through this. And so what I recognize is we all kind of many times live in our own little silent misery. And so I thought to myself during that training, I thought, if I can do what Dan is doing, I thought if I could do that, man, I'm happy. I'm good. Like if I could be the genie and magician that comes into somebody's life and that's dealing with a certain set of circumstances or challenges, and I could have a set of skills and a set of tools that I can go bam and handle those after all the years they've been struggling with it, maybe in depression, maybe become an alcoholic, maybe a drug user, maybe something, that if I could help annihilate that and rid that, then I feel really great. As Nadine and this whole movement is bringing hope. So if I can bring hope into that person's life, I want to know at the end of my life, when I go see my maker, that he says, you did well, Brett, you served well. So I made a decision that this would be my life's work. And so for the next year, as I left out of there, I went to go start up a company called Life by Design. And I started writing a book, and I bought watches and hats and shirts, and I failed miserably. You know, like, if you're going to fail miserably. And that's what I did. And I didn't kind of sort of fail. I failed miserably. But what that did is it said, all right, well, you failed here, but let's see what it takes in order for you to get to the answers. And so in 1995, so one of the things I recognized, and the reason I failed is because he was a great magician, Dan. But like all great magicians, they don't show you how they do the magic. They just do the magic. And then we sit back and stand back and look and go, yeah, I could do that. Sure you can, if they showed you how they do the magic. And so I attempted to think I knew what I was doing, failed miserably. And so I thought, who could teach me something in this genre of work? I thought, Tony Robbins. If there's somebody that could teach me this line of work, it's this guy, Tony Robbins. So in 1995, I showed up on the doorsteps of Tony Robbins. I had no job, I had no money, and I had no car. What did I have? Hope. And that's really what allowed for me to go, where people go, dude, you had no job, you had no money, you had no car, and you just showed up on the doorsteps of Tony Robbins. I thought, yeah, you know, if I'm going to be unsuccessful, I'm going to go to somebody that's successful that can help me move past that unsuccess place. So just everything in the universe just all kind of met in the right space. And I showed up there, I was in the lobby, and I thought I heard this big Tony voice, and I was like, that's Tony Robbins. I was like, I just stood up from my chair. I went to the end of the hallway, and I saw all of Tony and his people coming towards me, and they were heading into the elevator. To me, all of the people that he was with disappeared, and I shook my hand into Tony's big giant mitt of a hand, and I walked him into the elevator and then walked him out to his car. And after that, the rest was history. And I started with this company in 1995 for $7.50 an hour. Now, the interesting part is that if I was 30 seconds later, I would have never went to work with Tony Robbins, because I would have never met Tony, which then gave me the inspiration or the hope that, hey, the universe has been just connected here so powerfully. I got to run with this. So I started in the game at $7.50 an hour, struggled really hard. I was in the boiler room, but I never lost hope, never. And I was the guy, my friend I was talking to the other day that I lived with, he would literally drop me off out of his limousine onto a bus stop. So, you know, the city buses, they come right through, they pick you up at the bus stop. He would drop me out of his limo on the bus stop. The bus would then take me to work. And I'm wearing a suit and tie. I'm being paid $7.50. I'm in the boiler room making calls all day, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and setting appointments for trainers out on the field. And I would go to work and do my time at the office and make my calls and do my thing. And then I'd get back on the bus. The bus would then take me downtown San Diego. I'd get out of the bus and into a train. The train would take me inland, and then I would get out of the train and step into a cab. And then the cab would ultimately bring me home. It was crazy. I was out of money by the time I got home, clearly. And so ultimately they put me as a trainer. They said, this guy's too loud. He's too much on the inside. He's definitely an outside guy. So they put me out on the outside. And there's a team that Tony has that travels 48 weeks out of the year. And I like to just facetiously call them like the Navy SEAL 6. Like, they're the baddest dudes and ladies that Tony has. And they travel the road, and you're speaking to thousands of companies a year. About 1,000 companies, or maybe 500 companies a year, something like that. But you're speaking to a lot of companies out there training. So they put me out on the road. They said, Brett, let's get him out of the office. Let's put him on the road. 2 weeks out on the road. First of all, you're spoiled. They give you your car. They give you leads. They set appointments for you. They pay you. They do all these things. They basically spoil you. They put you up in corporate housing. You basically just show up. So I'm out there as a trainer. 2 weeks in, they pulled me off to the side and they said, Brett, we really like you. You're a good guy, and we've got to let you go. I'm thinking, I've only been out here 2 weeks. They said, yeah, but we've got somebody else that's more qualified. We need to let you go. And they were leaving San Francisco and then going to Los Angeles. And they said, well, listen, Brett, you originally came from Los Angeles. You probably have some, you're welcome to go to Los Angeles. I mean, we can't tell you where you can and cannot go. Tony's doing an event in Los Angeles. And if you want to go and promote for him, have at it. but we're not giving you a car. We're not giving you housing. We're not paying you. We're not giving you appointments. We're not giving you leads. We're not giving you anything. But if you love the dude so much and you want to make a difference in people's lives, have at it. So I went to Los Angeles, struggled my you-know-what off, and I had nowhere to live. So where I was living originally in Los Angeles, there was no space. My friend goes, dude, listen, I have a boat. And a lot of times people mistake that for like a yacht. You know, there's yachts and then there's boats. And I had a boat, and I'm a big 6'5" guy, and I'm down there in the boat, and I'd get up out of the boat in the morning, and I would go and dress in the community showers, put my suit, my tie. I'd get all ready for the day. I had no money except just like little bit of money, but I would take what money I had, and I would go and I would get a payphone. And back in the days, you might remember back in the payphones where a metal, thing would hang down with the big giant yellow books. And I would open up the yellow pages and start calling all these companies and setting appointments. And people are like, dude, you're setting appointments in payphones? I'm like, yeah, what else are you going to do? You find a way. And so ultimately I started setting appointments. And then the next challenge was like, how am I going to get to the appointments? And so I, again, back on the city bus, I'm all suited and tied, just sitting there waiting for, this big giant bus to come and take you wherever you need to go. You put 25, 50 cents in their little thing and off to the races you go. And it was just crazy. I was living on a boat, making calls out of payphones, taking buses to my appointments. And ultimately at the end of the city, we had dinner with Tony at the Magic Castle in Hollywood. And he said, listen, anybody that's willing to do what you just did, he said, you're a man after my own heart. He said, welcome back on to the team. Welcome back on. And it was great. They gave me all the goodies back, appointments and leads and car and apartment. had everything set up just like the rest of our team. And it was really awesome. And then I did something that maybe some of you might have done. And that was I began to sabotage my own success. Now, maybe you haven't been guilty of that, but I know I have. And that sabotage thing just kicked in on me. And I began to not do the things that were making me to become successful. I began to not do those things. And I began to self-implode. I was literally self-destructing my own self, my own dreams, my own visions. I began to self-destruct. So the day that turned it all around, there was a day for me. It was December. I believe there's a day for everybody. I believe there's a moment, a time, a situation, an occurrence, something that happens that in that moment, we make a new decision. We redefine what's possible in our life. And so on December 15th, 1996, Tony was having a Christmas party at his home in La Jolla, California. Well, the office that I worked at was the corporate office in La Jolla, California. All of the rest of my team was being diverted to Tony's house for the party. I was being diverted to the office for an executive meeting. My sales manager wanted to see me. So I remember I showed up that morning. I showed up a bit late, 10 minutes late. And I remember when I got into the office, her name was Deborah, and Deborah had pink papers on the desk. Now, if you know what pink papers mean, it basically means, dude, you're fired. We like you, you're awesome, and you're fired. And I'm like, oh my gosh, not down this path again. So one of the things I recognized in that moment, I had one of two choices. I could either choose to step aside and say, this game's not for me. Maybe I'm just not cut out for it. Let someone else come in and fill my shoes. Clearly, they weren't that big of shoes during those days. That was one option. The other option was no way. No way. It was either step up or step aside. So I decided to step up, literally step up. I got out of my chair. I hovered over this lady's desk, Deborah, and I said, you can't fire me. I said, I'm not leaving. You'll have to call security. I'm not leaving. The first thing I recognized, she wasn't looking for a debate. She was only looking for my signature. And I wasn't going to sign anything. I wasn't going to leave anywhere. They just wanted me to quietly go peacefully out the back door and call it quits. And there was no way. And I looked and said, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way. Her eyeballs were like massive saucers. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, okay. I said, I promise you, you give me one shot, I'll break every record. I'll defy every odd. I'll do everything it takes. And so she said, okay, we're going to give you one more shot. And so I kept my job. And I started and showed up to Tony's house, and he answers the door like, what are you doing here? You're we're supposed to be fired. How did you get through my executive people? You must have more certainty than them, because they had the certainty that you're gone. You kept it. So that meant that you obviously had more certainty than they did. And he said, if you're able to get past my executive team, I know you can get past the average and ordinary person out on the road. And so they kept me on. I traveled the country, moved 25 times in 5 years, trained over 3,000 companies. I started to take my income from 2,000 a check to 5,000 a check to 7,000. I got to 10,000 and I thought, I wonder what is really inside of me. You know, like all of us, right? I always say there's a you inside of you haven't met yet until we fall under extreme circumstances. Right? We've heard about stories of a baby or a small child, you know, being under a car and that person's able to do some miraculous thing. They didn't even know that part of them even existed until they're put under an extreme situation. So I don't know your circumstances, but I thought to myself, I used the analogy that is, you know, if you have a Ferrari, for an example, you don't know really what's under the hood of a Ferrari in your neighborhood. Right? You can't take the Ferrari 200 miles an hour in the suburbs. But if you take it out to the desert and you throw it down, you can really see what's under the hood. And I wanted to see what was under my hood, my psychological hood, my belief hood. I wanted to see what's really under. So I just said, bam. And I took my income from one paycheck where I was making 10,000. I took it to over 100,000 on the very next paycheck. Freaked out Tony, freaked out accounting, freaked out the whole team. They're like, dude, you're the dude that was living on buses or taking buses and trains, and you know, the guy that started at $7.50 an hour. And I think that for me, it's just never losing hope. You know, there's something great, and I don't say it to impress anybody. I say it mostly to impress myself. You know, that if you did it once, dude, you can do it again. And so I think it's our responsibility, it's our due diligence as human beings to be able to help people bring that hope alive, to help spark that hope. Because we live in a world right now where people are losing hope. They are absolutely in such turmoil. They're in such friction. There's such chaos. There's all this news that's going on with the amount of uncertainty that's happening. And so one of the greatest things that I have recognized is the most successful people are not the most successful because they can handle the most amount of certainty in their life. And so what you and I do is we're certainty chasers. We want certainty in our marriage. We want certainty in our finances. We want certainty in our fitness. We're chasing certainty. You know, that's why when we have a whole option of different movies to watch, we watch the same one we've watched 5 times because we're certain of the outcome. We're certain of the direction and where it's going to go. As if we take a different movie, we go, I'm not sure. I've never seen it. You know, so sometimes it makes it easier if I just go towards that. But the most successful are not the most successful because they can handle the most amount of certainty. The ones that are the most certain, or the ones that are the most successful, are the ones that can handle the most amount of uncertainty. The ones that can handle the most amount of uncertainty are the ones that ultimately become the most successful. So if you're dealing with a sense of uncertainty out there, your finances, your fitness, your marriage, your health, something is something. Just the key is to keep that hope alive, knowing that in one moment, in one situation, it can all turn around. I mean, every situation, in a smack of a boom, I'm a Christian. I know that God's on my life. And God comes in and goes, bam, dude, here's a miracle. I got you covered on that one. I got you covered. And I've had so many miracles show up. So I believe for me personally, that to keep that hope alive, to know that a miracle could come in one's health and immediately remove cancer, can remove depression, can remove financial stress, can help build and mend a marriage back together. The relationship that you have with your children, it might be a disarray or it might be distant, but it can come back together in a moment as long as you don't lose that hope. So for me, in the world that we live in today, to be able to bring that sense of hope, addiction is at its highest, drug use is at its highest, alcoholism is at its highest, domestic abuse is at its highest. It's crazy times out there. So what's the one thing we can do? We can keep ourselves intact. We might not be able to keep the government intact. We might not be able to keep things that are outside of us intact. But if you keep the hope inside of your own self, for your future, for your family. And the last thing we want to do is lose hope, right? And show our kids there's no hope. I mean, if there's anything for me, and I've been through, just like everybody, tough seasons. I mean, really, really, sometimes you're like, God, is there going to be a way? But there is every single time. Every single time. As long as you stay in the game, as long as you don't lose the hope that's inside of yourself. And so it's a blessing, it's an honor to be on a call like this, because I never know. Like when I walk into a room to do a speaking engagement, I never know which one I'm talking to. I never know which one needs to hear those words. I never know which one is on the verge of suicide, that when they leave that room, they're going to go pop some pills or put a gun to their head because they lost all hope. And so I get really emotional. I get very teary-eyed when I talk about that, because it's so high, it's so radical. And so to be able to bring a message of any sense of hope into today's world is a great blessing, and it's a great opportunity. And you are my sister, Nadine, and you know that, and I love you. And I think it's awesome what you're putting off into the world today. And so if there's anything that I would say is to not lose the hope, to remain to whatever that is. You might have a shaky marriage. Again, your health might be shaky. You might have just got some news reports back from the doctor. But once you go down, you're down. So the key is to go down, get back up. Going down is part of life. But it's when we lose hope that we stay down. Once you're down and out, once that kicks in, you fall down and you stay down because you lost hope, you're out of the game. And if you're committed to the game for you, for your family, for your children, for being the example, the role model of possibilities, to where many people have lost the sense of possibility, to be able for them to look at you, for them to be able to look at you. I just want to be example to my children. Nadine, you know, as I mentioned, I didn't go to college or anything like that. I had no, thing of that. But in raising my three kids, my oldest son, as you know, Garrett, he's off now on his master's degree for math. He graduated high school with a 4.5. He got a $250,000 scholarship to go to school in Budapest. Like, it's amazing. My oldest son, my middle son, Grant, big 6'10" kid, graduated high school, 4.3, full ride scholarship. He takes me off. He starts playing. He played basketball for years, but it wasn't his passion, and he took up golf. And he takes me to the driving range, and he pulls me off to the side, and he goes, Dad, I got one of your genes. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, Dad, I got the gene of dreaming big. He goes, my goal is to be on the PGA Tour by the time I'm 25 years old. I was like, dude, I'm good, bro. That's amazing. Like, I never wanted to show them, okay, Dad didn't go to school and Dad went through struggles. Well, I'm not going to go to school and I'm going to struggle too. I didn't want to do that. It's my responsibility to make sure the generations ahead of me are different than the generations behind me. So I'm just going to say, just as a friend to those watching, listening, whatever that is, that you got something inside of you to leave a legacy, to make a difference, to make an impact, do it. There's people right now that need so much of you. And we can't sit around, at least in my eyes, I can't sit around crying the blues, because there's a lot to cry about. And my job, as I was talking with somebody this morning, she's going through a challenging time, amazing, beautiful woman. She's 24. Her dad hired me to coach her quite some time ago, and she's awesome. And she's going through a very tough season. And as I let her know, I'm like, listen, if it's not this set of circumstances in life, it's going to be a different set of circumstances. There's always a set of circumstances that are going on in our life. It's very rare do people go, yep, it's all good. Health is good. Marriage is good. Kids are awesome. Finances are amazing. Everything is amazing. I mean, if it's not one set of challenges, it's usually another. Being broke has one set of challenges. Being rich brings another set of challenges. But there's always challenges. It's just, how do we deal with it? How do we deal with that? I know Robert was talking about that. Great message, both from Carlos, to a dear friend, and Robert got a chance to see his message this morning. And so I just want to, if I can in any capacity, just give that encouragement to maybe the discouraged, that maybe that's what you need or looking for, and to not make it about you, but breathe some life into others. Because the moment you breathe life into them, the same way our God breathes life into us, and you breathe life into someone else, your life will never be the same. Your problems disappear when you're not focused on yourself and you're focused on others. Our problems magnify when we focus on us, but they disappear when we get focused on helping and applauding and loving all over other people. So if there's anything that I could share just to bring more of that to the world, and that's what you are doing, Nadine. So it's great to see that. Definitely.
Wow, Brett. Wow, you amaze me every time you speak. You have just such passion and wisdom and insights that you share in your stories. Thank you so much for being here and for showing up and just being yourself. It's just you're everybody that's here, right? Everybody in the world has that light. You just have such beautiful light right now that shines so brightly as you're speaking your truth and stepping into fully who you are. That allows other people to do the same. And I love what you said about it's not about us, right? If this was
it's not about us. I never went to work for Tony Robbins for $7.50 an hour for the money. You know, taking buses and trains and cabs, it was never about the money. It was always about, and it has remained about for 27 years now, always about the impact.
That's right.
Always about the impact.
It's for the people. It's all about the people and how
it's all about the people.
Yeah.
I've had so many people come to me when they first take me on as a coach, and they don't tell me many times, they don't really sometimes open up until they many times move past that situation. But they come and go, dude, that day I called you, I was suicidal. Now, they don't come into the call going, dude, I'm suicidal, because I'm not a suicide hotline. So many times that might be kept to themselves until they break past that. And then they open up and go, dude, that day I called you, I was suicidal. I was going to end it all. And so it's so amazing to see. But the thing is, and I'll leave you on here again, thank you so much. But to recognize that people are living in their own private hell for many. It's not, we have a private conversation and a public conversation. And we many times don't blend the two. We show the public what we want, and then privately we have our own private conversations. Those are the things we have privately. And then we have a public conversation. We show the public what we want them to see. If we actually knew most people's private conversation with their own world, you and I would cry for just what people are dealing with in their own private world. So you can't be fooled. You can't be fooled by the nice car. You can't be fooled by the nice clothes. You can't be fooled by the smile. It's what's up underneath that that's really what's going on. Like a Robin Williams, right? Had everything going for him. Smile, laugh, everything, dealing in his own private world was his own private hell. So don't be caught off. Don't let people catch you off guard to think that, oh, it's all good. Just put a smile on their face, bring happiness, bring joy, bring love, bring all of that to the world. And I promise you, your life will brighten up. Your family's life will brighten up in every possible way.
I love that. And I love the idea of showing up, right? And almost like bridging the gap between those two parts of ourselves and being able to merge them into one, and allowing ourselves to just show up and be authentic and be transparent and be vulnerable and allow those parts to be seen, because that's the part that creates massive impact and massive transformation in people's lives. And that's power when you said that there's so much to be said.
My growth for me personally always, and I'm going to use that as a kind of always grows out of my authenticity and my vulnerability. When I lose my vulnerability and I lose my authenticity, it's a different game. My growth comes from being able to go to people and going, dude, I got a problem. Dude, I'm in a bind. Dude, I got a situation. Because they want to think, oh, he's got it all together and this and that. And I don't think anyone really has it all together.
Yeah. You know? Oh, I agree, Brett. I can tell you the most revelatory insights I had with working with the clients I've worked with from around the world is listening to their stories and the people that I thought that my perception was of them that looked perfect. I would sit down and have a conversation with them, and they were the ones that were going through the most difficult stories, horrific situations. And that allowed, I encourage everybody here listening to have compassion for everybody. You just never know what they're going through. So,
you just said a perfect word in that sentence. That whole thing is compassion. compassion. That is the main ingredient. That's why I do the work I do. I'm just compassionate for the dude or the woman that's going through a tough time, and maybe I got a set of skills. I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to build a house or a fence. Like, I'm not a painter. I do what I do, and I've been doing it 27 years, but it's only because of the compassion I have for other people that are going through a tough time, that if I can give them something that maybe they didn't have coming into the game, and they could leave the game with that intact, a renewed sense of possibility, then that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's where the power lies. It's I just finished writing an article on this, on power, like the redefinition of power in our world, and going and taking it from where it's been, which has been about control, consumption, and bringing it into more compassion and care and for humanity. And it's just as simple. Like, the more we can simplify things, the easier it is for people to comprehend and actually take action upon it. Going back to actionable hope, right, in our world.
Yes.
So, Brett,
I will say this in closing. I will say that for your viewers and your watchers, to pay very, very close attention to what you feed up in your head. And so for a long time, I'd watch the news, turn the news. Many times it was just, background noise. That news channel would end and I'd go to another news channel. I haven't had the news on in 3 years. Zero news. No news.
Same here, Brett. Same here. I hear you.
No news. I don't need that filled. I mean, there's so much drama and so much. And hey, I respect all the things that are going on. But I also know one thing, man, that people are depressed today because they're flicking through and they're watching and they're seeing. And, unless you can do something about it, unless you can make an impact about it, then maybe it's something that you just kind of leave to the people that are actually doing something about it. All the government, leave it to the people in government. Unless you can. I can't tell you how many people I've had to walk off the ledge. I'm like, dude, you're too deep in that, bro. You need to change the channel on your television or something. Mm-hmm. Too much controversy in the world in which we live in today. And that affects our thinking. And it allows for you and I to lose hope. There's not even hope in the government anymore. So you have to pay very, very close attention to what you're feeding your mind through music and through different podcasts that are motivating and that are inspirational, and they leave you with that renewed sense of hope going into that. Stay away from the controversy, at least the best you can, because those are the things that keep you up at night, tossing and turning and tossing and turning. Forget about it.
Exactly. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. I love everything you share. I enjoy your talks and your everything so much. And it's an honor to have you here today. And thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're extremely busy, for taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here and share that, and to save lives, right? At the end of the day, this is what we're doing, is saving, empowering, bringing hope to lives, to people to take action, to, create a video of kindness, of something they can do today, even if it's 30 seconds, like Carlos said, 30, 60 seconds of your day. Anybody can sit down. And even if it's just yourself talking about something that somebody did that was kind to you, right? Something just to get it out there, just to share with other people right now is needed so much. So thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you, Nadine.
I'm so glad you're here, and wish you all the best.
Awesome. We love you, Nadine. Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you.
All right. God bless. Yeah. Thank you, Brett.
Yep.